So I'm here at Hardwick's Lake on the RidgeMonkey social, where we've got all of our pro team together and we're all meeting up and we're talking tactics and rigs and all the different new products that are coming out. And we're over on Hardwick Lake. A few of the lads have had a load of fish, so it's really, really good. But whilst I've reeled in, I thought I'd show you my rig. It hasn't got a name as such. It's a Slip D rig on a rotator setup, but I use a stiff boom and I use it for wafters only. The reason I use it with a stiff boom is for two reasons. One, I want it to reset every time, which this does, but also one of the key elements is where it's attached to the swivel, it's attached tight. So you can either tie it on, you can crimp it, or like I've got is one of our booms that we're going to be bringing out. And this is very, very tight to the swivel. So that gives me less movement, which gives me this stiff presentation. So it resets every single time. When you use a wafter with a simple Ronnie rig, which has got the big ring, what you'll find is as that lands, it will fall back on itself. And I find that it doesn't reset. Like I say, this is with a wafter setup. And also what's a little bit different is I'm using a Slip D on a rotator setup where I haven't just got it straight onto the hook. So let me break this down a little bit for you and I'll show you exactly how I do it. Okay, let's start with the boom. This is about 7 inches, and the most important part of this rig for me is the part by the rotator swivel. So what you want to do is you want to cut the rig ring off, which is the bigger ring. You want to cut that off, so you're just left with the rotator part. And then what you want to do is you either want to crimp or tie a fluorocarbon boom to that section. And that creates a stiff sort of section. So the tighter you can get it, the better. And what that will do, it will still give it a little bit of movement side to side, but it'll also stop it from folding back on itself, which means it will reset itself perfectly every time. We are bringing out a boom section that will do this, but for now, like I say, a fluorocarbon section that you tie or you crimp right to the end of the swivel, and that is that section done. Okay, moving on to the more fiddly part of the rig now, and this is a pretty simple rig. Anyone that knows me knows that I like a nice simple rig. So all I do is I take off about 6 inches of the Camo-X and I will strip that. So I like the supple section inside the Camo-X, and then obviously you cut that off. Like I say, 5-6 inches is plenty. Then you want to fold that in half and pinch it through the centre, and that is going to go through the back of the eye of a size 4 curve, like so. Once that's through, get yourself a micro hook ring swivel and put the loop through the large eye, and then open that braid up and fold it over the hook as such. So creating a Slip D or a multi-rig effect. Then you want the edge of the multi-rig to be in line with the barb. And once that's in and done, all I then do is I'll do a 1, 2, turn knotless knot, and I'll put both tag ends back through the eye. And simply snip that off, a few mil away, and then get the lighter and just blob that down a couple of mil from the end, just to make sure that's all nice and secure and it doesn't go anywhere. Now we get ourselves about 15-20 mil of 3.6 mil shrink tube, put that over the top so that's covering everything, and then take our boom section and then simply clip the hook onto the swivel like so. Very, very simple. And then pull the shrink tube back down over the crook. And what I like to do is when I shrink this down, I like to leave a couple of mil from the barrel. So I don't go over the barrel with the shrink tube. I leave a little bit of the barrel showing so that it's got full 360 rotation, so the barrel doesn't lock it all in place. And then all I simply do again is I actually moisten this bit of saliva. This is so it doesn't burn the braid. So I wet that down, hold that in place, and then I take the lighter and I very simply melt this all down. Really quick and simple to do. Or you can obviously hold it over a kettle, that's another way of doing it. But I like to do it like this way. And that is it done. So as you can see, it's very stiff. The only way it goes is up and down, but what it doesn't do is when it lands, it doesn't fold back on itself. If you have a big ring here, it will fold back on itself if you've got a wafter bait on. Very simple and very effective. Okay, so this rig's all ready to go now, so I'm going to get a bait on there. And I put my bait on slightly different too. A lot of people have commented that they've never seen people do it, but I use a barrel wafter, and I always put the barrel wafter on sideways. So it's something a little bit different, and it sits different in the water, and I actually think it covers the hook more than as if it was facing upwards. So I'll show you how to do that, I'll show you what it looks like, and then I'll get the rods out and hopefully have a bite before this social finishes. So I know you've probably seen this done thousands of times, but simply take off 3-4 inches of bait floss. That goes through the hook ring swivel of the old rig. Pull that down central, and then very simply put the bait, hook the bait on, which as you can see I've gone through sideways. Push the bait on and pull that down so that you're about halfway onto the barrel. I don't like to leave much of the swivel showing at all. And then I'll cut off and leave about 5mm of bait floss, and then simply blob that down, and then as it hits the bait, melt that, leaving a nice big patch over the top so it's not going to be able to come off, and that is ready to go. It's a lot stiffer, it will reset itself every time, and like I say, with a wafter bait, it's not going to be able to fold back on itself because this is quite stiff. It's going to hit the bottom and sit perfectly every time.